Hello, and welcome to this week's Fish Wrap TV Market Update. Today is Friday, April 16th, 2021, and I'm your host, Janie Hansen, here in Blue Earth, Minnesota with Q Layer to discuss the latest in the grains, lumber, Bitcoin, and the stock market. Believe it or not, we're going to start talking about corn first. After that heat wave a couple weeks ago, it's been a little bit chillier around here. How's that shaping up in the markets?
We've got a record Arctic blast coming straight down the North Dakota pipe all the way to, through the Corn Belt and especially on the west side of the Corn Belt. And what that means is that, right around April 15th, some of these crops, if they've been in the ground, are a little bit susceptible. And
sorry, I had it off.
That's right.
Sorry.
A little fun from the peanut gallery.
Yeah,
we'll
peanut
be
gallery.
interviewing him later on. So
we'll take him out to the horse. But
it's okay. He brought beer.
no, I guess we're all traders, right?
Yep.
But this Arctic blast reminds me of 1996, April 15th, by the way, when we had Arctic blast, April 15th in West Texas. And what happened was we had 15 degrees for like 8 hours, and we had the rumors that it destroyed virtually the entire west half of the hard wheat crop. And of course, wheat exploded. That's what happened here with corn, is that some of the upside, let's say rooftops in the corn, have been pulled away. And we're starting to see, corn drift up, and actually, quite a bit of rallying going on here. So May corn actually had a $6 print overnight, closed, still in the 590s.
Wow.
And, we got Dees corn now has taken out the frame at 507 3/4 and traded 511, 512 today. So not exactly a blowout of the frame, but still it's above the frame, and it's just indicating that we are repricing the grains here for the next couple of years. They're very susceptible to stuff like this Arctic blast that's coming down the pipe. It's going to affect wheat much more than corn, especially at this stage, because the reason it's so dangerous is because wheat can only stand 4 hours of 28-degree weather when it's flowering, and it's flowering right now.
Okay.
Throughout the Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas area. So, corn is only susceptible if it got planted and a bit of emergence and zap. Mm-hmm. So may see some replanting, but we will see. So otherwise, we're looking at a really stiff rally on the corn board all the way out. So, you and I have been talking about this, but 2022 is now broken out of 455, and it's traded 470 today.
Okay.
23 traded 442, which means it's coming directly in division. And of course, 2024 is actually trading at 433.
Oh, wow.
4 years out. So, all corn board, the whole corn board is now in our viewpoint.
Yeah.
For profitability.
Yeah. So you think, really keep the eye on 2022 and start looking some at 23?
Yeah. We're a dime away from really where you have to do something about it. So,
okay.
It's really this is the beauty of watching the backboards, but also the farm CFO theory that you and I built here, is that, profitability 2, 3, 4 years out works just as well there as it does here.
Yeah, it's nice to get some of that locked in. Good to have on the balance sheet.
Yes, yes.
And the cash flow coming up. So, I put a little more money in my margin account just in case.
Well, the thing is that when the board's rallying, so is your cash grain, on the other side. So it's just a matter of whether you got a big debit at the clearinghouse or a big credit. But then if you got a big credit at the clearinghouse, you got a big debit on your cash.
Yeah.
So, but, the Lord works this way or that way, depending on which way you want to go.
Mm-hmm. So, and how about soybeans? Well,
soybeans took a back seat to even corn and wheat this week, which is, pretty standard this time of year. We had, November back up into the 1270s. 22 is into the 1150s, and 23 is into 23 and 24 are 1088 and 1092 respectively.
Okay.
So, all four are in viewpoints, all the way out the board. We've actually, I was telling you about the open interests went up north of 100 contracts in 23 already. So they're starting to, we're starting to get some traction back there. The pros are building positions in the back bean.
So
backbeat options.
A few other people are starting to sniff around out there.
Yes. So, and of course we've got, I saw today, there was another 4 contracts in 2024 traded. So that's double the open interest. So we're definitely getting some interest out there as this board drifts north, with the gravity from the front options.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, our friend wheat, I'm going to start mentioning wheat every week because I know these people think I'm lying that I traded wheat for 40 years when we talk about wheat. But, July wheat right now coming down the pipe to harvest is 653. That's about where it was. It was like 648, 650 when we, got into the new year. So it's been down, it's back up. So it's got this famous oscillator going, which is extremely dangerous. It puts everybody to sleep.
Yeah.
In the wheat pit until old Sybil wakes everybody up.
Makes a sudden move.
Oh yeah, and she will definitely do that.
Mm-hmm. So then, how about the soybean oil and canola? They just keep rocketing up, and
this is why beans are going to be really, really dangerous this year. This is an oil-led rally. This is absolutely the last thing I want. If I were a bean trader, is to have this thing pinned up by oil. Oil. If they decide that there's going to be demand destruction in shipping or with biofuels, there will not be a bid under this market, and that's going to make Sybil look like easy in the wheat market when this thing goes. Yeah. I'd much rather have a bean market pinned up like this, a $4 rally led by meal than oil. Mm-hmm. But canola, somebody's got a problem. Somebody's got a big problem up there in canola.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going. It's 820, 830. I can't remember seeing a 600 for God's sakes since outside of, 2008. So this is a real character builder that we've got going here. And some people who are short got a real problem in a couple of these commodities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of which, lumber.
Oh my God.
Real close to 1,300.
1,300. Okay. Last time we talked, it was 987. So it's 30% higher in about 2-3 weeks. This is beyond pain.
Yeah.
And this is beyond seeing God. This is a real toe tag event for some people. Honestly, I do not know how you're going to use $1,300 lumber and have any kind of a housing boom.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. You're up 600%. And I think we're going to have to go back to our houses here on Blue Earth and make sure nobody comes to steal our 2x4s out of our house.
Yeah.
At this rate. Because, copper at $4, they'll come and steal the copper. If they're going to steal $4 copper, $13 lumber is a layup.
Watch out. So, how do you think that's going to play into the housing market?
Well, the thing is what we're going to see is probably, this reminds me a lot of the 90s when we had a housing crash. But what happened was people work with the houses they had. So that was the flipping boom, and that sort of stuff started then. The actual build kind of stuff happened in, the late 90s with the tech boom, and then that crashed, of course. But, I don't see that we're going to have a big new housing boom with $1,300 lumber, $4 copper.
Yeah,
I just don't see it.
Something up with that.
Well, you're talking about the cost of your house almost doubling. Mm-hmm. With when lumber and copper have doubled in the last few months, 600% for lumber, by the way, it's going to be very difficult to make the economics work for another $1 million, a million houses.
Yeah. So, how about inflation?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because, the Fed chair, Powell, he keeps talking about inflation being transitory. And of course, Twitter is just like on fire about not only inflation, but hyperinflation. Okay. So I'm thinking, we are going to have some inflation here. The number's been coming in pretty stiff, 2.6% CPI this month when they were expecting like 2.1, 2.2. Doesn't sound like much. But the thing is that this is liftoff like we haven't seen since, 93, 94. Mm-hmm. So, you got to be real careful with this stuff. Of course, what happens is, we talked about this a million times, Janie, high prices cure high prices. And I think, $1,300 lumber and $4 copper is going to, sate the market.
Yeah.
And, like what we're doing, you're going to see houses, in the small cities and small towns continue to move. But I don't see how anybody can build a house or anything, up in, the big cities, especially if you have to use any kind of lumber.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, and then the stock market just keeps on running as the stimulus money keeps flooding in.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about it, if you got money and all of a sudden you got more money, what do you do with it? And you got $2, 2% bonds. You've got, what do you put your money in? And they just keep throwing it in the stock market, and the thing just keeps going up. And you and I were talking about 2-3 years ago, and you probably thought I was out of my mind when I told you the Dow was going to 33,000 when it was setting at like 24, 25. But I just had a feel we were going to get that leg up. But it blew through 33,000 like it wasn't even there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big number, big. And the market just keeps on going, and it's this cheap money. And they keep saying, well, this is going to be a great year, and it's just like, that's economists talking. And you know what I think about economists? So, economics was developed to make astrology look good. John Kenneth Galbraith, said that, and even though he was an economist, and they keep saying that this market can keep on going up, but yet,
Mm-hmm.
that's famous last words, because Bear Stearns and Lehman were great investments until the next day when they went in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be mindful of this, and it's you and I talk about this all the time. Greed and fear. This is definite greed.
Okay.
At this
That's
stage
what's
of the
driving
market.
the market now.
Exactly. I mean, you're seeing, Bitcoin at 65,000. I mean, these numbers are ridiculous. Ethereum is blowing up towards 2,500. I mean, just 7-8 months ago, Ethereum was under 120.
Yeah.
120. And if you had invested in that, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But
Right.
it's one of those things which shows just how little respect the real money has for what's going on with the spending in Washington. The bond vigilantes are probably the new Bitcoiners. What do they call them? Hodlers. You know what hodler is?
No.
Hang on for dear life.
Oh.
So
All right.
you can see when you got
vocab.
a Bitcoin and a hodler, HODL, you can tell they're hardcore.
Nice. I like getting some more of these vocab terms.
There you go.
Trader lingo. So, any other key points from the markets this week?
The markets are constantly teaching us about greed and fear, just like we talked about. And it's one of those where, a few months from now, when something happens, you and I are going to say, you've been talking about this all along.
Mm-hmm.
And see, it's just like we talked about, a few times, in our nightly conversations, is that, it's like quantum mechanics. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. You either know the charge of the electron or you know its location. And the thing is, you can either know where the market's going or when the market goes, but you can't know both.
Okay.
And the thing is, I know what the market wants to do and where it's going to go, but I just don't know when we're going to see something turn. But, even Warren Buffett says that, and I'm a true believer. I mean, I do all my work so I know where it's going. I just don't know when.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, speaking of the stock market and stimulus spending, I see you got some new accessories.
Yes. Yes.
Earrings from our friend Renee across the hall at Blue House on Main.
Yep. So I'm stimulating the Blue Earth economy.
Yep. From local artisans here.
Yes.
So great. Thanks for joining us this week. Stick around. We'll have a conversation coming up after this with Mike Lottie, the founder of Lost Saint Brewing, delivering some education on the art and craft of delicious, high quality beers. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.